Welcome to another episode of Touring the AFC South. I am your host, Mike Patton. As you read across the bottom of the screen, as you listen, this is episode 307, titled Different Perspectives. Now, we're going to get into why I titled it that in terms of the Titans and the Jaguars. We're going to get into that as we go along on this episode. But like every episode, when I open up the show, there is the Get It Off Your Chest segment. Now, the Chicago Bears, I'm going to go shift towards a different division and talk about the Chicago Bears, by the way. I can talk about anything in the Get Off Your Chest segment. But the Chicago Bears, there was a lot of optimism going into this season. There was the number one draft pick in Caleb Williams. They added pieces. Their defense got it going towards the end of the season last year. There was optimism. Of course, they brought back Eberflus, which, some Bears fans did not like, and probably a lot don't like now. But they did bring him back to coach this team. Now, going into this season, going into week, I believe, 11, now they have gotten rid of Matt Eberflus. I mean, not Matt Eberflus, but the offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron. The offense has been sputtering, to say the least, for the Chicago Bears. And, of course, there's plenty of people to blame. People are talking about Caleb Williams, talking about all these different other pieces of offensive line, things like that. But one thing that I saw that was quite interesting is that someone tried to say that Caleb Williams was a bust, not even through his first season. Now, I understand that he's missed some passes. I've watched the tape. I've seen it. But it is way too early to be calling him a bust. Way too early. I mean, looking at the plays on the field, of course, yeah, he can make some of those plays, but you also have to look at, just to give credit where credit's due. Dominic Foxworth kind of pointed out that not a lot of separation is being created by the receivers as well. That as well. And then he also pointed out that Keenan Allen isn't necessarily playing like the Keenan Allen that was with the Chargers all those years either. Couple that with offensive line not playing well, Caleb Williams not playing to the level that some thought he would in his first year. And here you have this offense, which is why Shane Waldron had to go. Now they brought in Thomas Brown, who is, former Panthers offensive coordinator, and we know how that situation was last season. Boy, oh boy. But hopefully, I'm hoping for him this time he's able to run some of the things that he learned from the Sean McVay offense, able to, do some adjustments and things, run some quick hitters to maybe alleviate some of the stress on the offensive line, which I know the offensive line is not good, but, alleviate some of the stress there on the offensive line and be able to help Caleb get rid of the football a little bit quicker than he's holding on to it now, because, of course, people are not open. Also, he's trying to make the big play as well. So that's another thing that could be harming the offense as well. So, I just want to say, it's definitely a different perspective to look at. Caleb Williams, no, is not a bust, contrary to the belief of one person that posted that. The offensive line has not played very well. The wide receivers, they're making plays, but they're not making enough, or not getting open, I should say, enough. Again, Dominic Foxworth did point out, if you don't know, the Dominic Foxworth podcast, which I listen to religiously, he pointed out that, receivers are not necessarily getting a lot of space, along with the wide receivers, along with the offensive line not producing as well. So, there's a lot of things going on in Chicago with that team, which is why they fired offensive coordinator Shane Waldron. But Caleb Williams is not a bust after not even making it through one season yet. He's shown glimpses of being the guy that everyone thought he can be, that he could be at the NFL level. But, it's way too early to start throwing out the B word when it comes to quarterbacks. Way too early on him, especially. All right, that's the Get Off Your Chest segment for this episode. Now let's get into what I came to talk about, boys and girls and men and women. And that is the Tennessee Titans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, if you're not aware, both of these teams have the identical record in the win column. That is 2 wins. Jaguars have lost one more game. That's because they have not had their bye week yet. They're 2-8. The Titans are 2-7. Now, looking at this, from both perspectives, the Jaguars, of course, going into the season, there was a lot of people on the national media that thought they could contend with the Houston Texans for the division, or at least, come in second place. They saw, Doug Pederson maybe, I guess, taking a step forward, or making the teams taking a step forward after the disappointing ending of last year, bringing in Eric Armstead, adding to their offensive line, bringing in Gabe Davis, bringing in different pieces to kind of elevate their play. And they saw it as maybe an elevation in terms of their stance in the AFC South. Unfortunately, we haven't seen it. Coaching has been erratic. We'll get into that later. Play hasn't necessarily been the greatest on both sides of the ball. And, just the Jaguars don't look like a great team that some would be, or a solid team as some thought they would be. So major disappointment in terms of the Jacksonville Jaguars, not necessarily just the AFC South-wise, but nationally in terms of those that thought they would be better than this 2-8 record that they currently have. Now, take on the flip side, the Titans. They made a lot of acquisitions this offseason. Spent over about $200 million, I believe, to bring in different pieces, whether it's Larry Sneed or bringing in, just bringing in different pieces, basically. And, with hopes that, of course, you would not only be better, but also, maybe matriculate up the AFC South rankings. I mean, I will admit I was wrong in terms of where they would finish. I was very, optimistic in terms of what they would look like, and thinking that they may finish second in the division. Now, I would say it's not necessarily out of their own possibility, given that the Colts are struggling right now, and they are, I believe, the second place team in the division. But, it doesn't look very good because of the struggles that the Titans have had. They're one of the lowest scoring teams in the NFL, along with, just things not meshing the way that people thought they would. Now, there were some Tennessee Titans fans that were definitely thinking they could shock the world and, maybe win this division with Houston coming out, which Houston did not play as well as plenty thought they would. But, they had an outside shot to some, but, but plenty thought they would be third or possibly fourth in this division. So, honestly, at the 2-7 record that they have, they're sitting in the third spot, which is where some had them being, despite all the talent that they added on the offensive side, defensive side as well. So, in terms of that, just basically the different perspectives that you view those teams. And outside of the Titans fans, plenty didn't expect much from the Titans. So, for them sitting in third place at 2-7, it doesn't surprise some outside of, the division or nationally, or some that thought they might be better than the 2-7 record. Now, the Jaguars, I believe it surprised more people. So, see different perspectives on how you view the 2-7 and the 2-8 record from each team. We're going to go into a little bit more depth to these teams because we're now in the week 11, and, they're both sitting with 2 wins, both 2 totally different perspectives and how you see those 2 wins in terms of nationally wise in this division. Of course, I know it's disappointing for the Titans fans and also for the Jaguars fans and for the Titans and Jaguars in general, because I know they expected better. But we're going to kind of go into not only the different perspectives of these teams, but the different perspectives of maybe a couple different points of each team. We're going to dive into that. But first, we're going to take a quick commercial break on Touring the AFC South. When we get back, we'll get that next thing that I want to point out, a little bit different perspectives. We'll be right back.
EBO Beard Butter and EBO Beard Wash are 2 of the best beard grooming products for men worldwide. They help promote growth, keep your beard moisturized and soft, and enhance your overall upkeep of your facial hair. And with the new promo code MPAFC10, You can get 10% off all these products. Just go to www.etsy.com/shop/EBO Beard Butter. Again, that's www.etsy.com/shop/EBO Beard Butter. And again, the promo code MPAFC10. Again, MPAFC10, where you can get 10% off any products except for beard boxes. So treat your beard better today by going to get these the EBO Beard Butter and EBO Beard Wash.
And we're back on touring the AFC South with your host Mike Patton. And as I mentioned before the commercial break, we will be going more in depth in terms of the different perspectives that you view these teams, and maybe a few pieces that you may view a little different, or a few things you may view different in terms of the perspectives that you look at them. That next position or next thing that we're going to go into is quarterback position. Now, I know there are some interesting things that people have about both quarterbacks of these teams, but just hear me out and let me marinate on this one. Okay. All right. Both quarterbacks is going to give you their stats. Will Levis, 101 and 148. He's 68.2% completion percentage, 874 yards, 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And it's taken 22 sacks. Trevor Lawrence, 61.3 completion percentage, 2,004 yards passing, 11 touchdowns, I believe 8 interceptions, and taken 18 sacks. Not necessarily pretty numbers from either quarterback. You know, at least in Trevor's case, he's got a positive TD to interception ratio, even though, you know, I would say that Will Levis is even right now, 7-7. Looks better than it did previously, earlier in this season. You know, both are definitely quarterbacks that you're trying to find out what you're getting from them. But here's where the different perspective comes into play, I should say. With Levis, he's in year 2. It's his first year being a starter. The Titans ended the season trying to find out if he was the guy for the future at quarterback for them. Of course, right now, it doesn't look like he's the guy. But, you know, I digress. Let me get back to my point here. You know, they surround them with talent, you know, surround them with pieces, try to see if, hey, you know, maybe we surround him with pieces, we'll know exactly what we know about him, whether we need to move forward or whether we need to move on. Currently, like I said, it doesn't look like he's the guy there, but you don't have the end result yet for the end of the season. He could improve, he could not, he could change minds within the Titan organization, he could not as well. Right now, it does not look like he is going to be the guy, in my opinion. But, you know, of course, you know, my opinion is right here and not necessarily paying the money like the Titans are. So there we go. And there's not, you know, that's what the perspective I have of him currently right now, Will Levis. But, you know, flip over to the other side, Trevor Lawrence, you know, he's escaped consistency throughout his career. That's just being honest. He has not been consistent at the quarterback position. He just hasn't. That's no shade at him. It's just looking at his play, the numbers. And I know both quarterbacks have been sacked a lot. But, you know, of course, you know, it's always interesting how one quarterback in this equation is always looked at as, you know, oh, he's this, he's terrible, and things like that. But then the other quarterback, Mr. Lawrence, it's, oh, the line is terrible, and things like that. But I digress. I'll go to the next point, what I was going to say. You know, there's been ups and downs with Trevor. He goes on great runs where he's playing well, and he's gone on bad runs where he's playing awful. And, you know, and Jags fans, plenty of them think he's the man when it comes to playing quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But honestly, you know, he's getting paid to be the man, cover up mistakes, all those different things, but he's not elevating the team. A quarterback is paid to either steady or elevate the team. When you're getting paid like a top 5 quarterback, you got to do one of those things. And honestly, he's doing neither of those things. Now, I get it that players drop passes. I get it that, some things are beyond his control. But unfortunately, hey, he's playing the position of quarterback. And this is what he is. He's the quarterback of the team. He's the leader of the team. And the leader, fairly or unfairly, takes a lot of criticism. And that's why I feel like kind of Trevor has kind of avoided criticism a lot. But it's starting to creep up more now because more and more money is being paid towards him. The difference between Will Levis and Trevor Lawrence is that the Titans are trying to figure out if he's the guy, or have been trying to figure out if he's the guy, and they haven't paid him any extension. It seems like Trevor Lawrence, they're paying him right now, but he hasn't figured out necessarily how, he hasn't necessarily become the guy to me. He just hasn't. And, or he hasn't figured out, they haven't, they paid him to be the guy, but he's not being the guy quarterback. And I feel like that question should have been answered before they gave him the extension. But, here we are now. He has the extension. There's nothing you can really do about that at this point because it would put you in cap purgatory if you were to try to trade him or any of those things. So here he is, their quarterback. Now, I failed to mention the extension doesn't kick in until next season, I believe is when it kicks in. So at that point, you've got to see him at some points being able to carry the offense, especially being paid. He's being paid. Because the other guys that get paid this type of money, like a Joe Burrow, like a Lamar Jackson, those type of guys, they definitely carry their teams at points during the game, if not a lot of the time. I mean, we know Lamar Jackson has help this year with Derrick Henry in the backfield, but he definitely still carries this offense, and he is the focal point. Joe Burrow definitely does a lot for this offense, for his offense in Cincinnati as well. So to me, different perspectives to look at it. But, the Titans are finding out who their guy is without having to pay him at the quarterback position. He's still kind of, inconsistent, but he's, his first year being a starter. The Jaguars have paid Trevor Lawrence, still trying to get the consistency and still trying to me, figure out if he can be the guy to carry this franchise to another level or at least steady or uplift this franchise. Now, again, I will mention, because I know Jaguars fans will tell me, he's got offensive line issues and players are dropping passes and things like that. And I totally understand that. But on the law of averages, he still should be able to elevate this team offensively somehow, some way. And he just hasn't done it over his career, and yet now you're paying him an extension to do those certain things, and it hasn't quite happened yet. So, all right, we're going to take another quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to dive into another thing between these two teams that you can look at, from a totally different perspective on the AFC South with your host, Mike Patton.
A shift. A shift is something that happens and changes the dynamics. And that's what happened when Garrett Logistics was born. After 10 years as a sales pro in the logistics world of sporting goods, John Garrett decided to pivot to the world of freight and start a brokerage. So you're saying to yourself, why trust Garrett Logistics? Well, Garrett Logistics helps shippers improve overall workflow, along with increased on-time pickup and delivery percentages. Last-minute loads, multi-drop pickups, and more are part of the services with Garrett Logistics. They're available Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., all times Central Standard Time. So give them a ring at 615-400-8484. That's 615-400-8484, or you can email them at john@garrettlogistics.co or visit their website at garrettlogistics.co. Garrett Logistics, where the motto is, it's not just freight to us, it's your business.
All right, and we are back on Touring the AFC South with your host, Mike Patton. And like I mentioned before the break, I had another thing you could look at from a different perspective when it comes to the Jaguars and the Tennessee Titans, and that'd be the coaching position. There's definitely a difference in perspective in terms of the years that each coach has been a head coach. For example, Brian Callahan is a rookie head coach in the NFL. He was the offensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, I would say that some criticize that he never called the plays when he was in Cincinnati. However, he was the offensive coordinator. The thing that he did as offensive coordinator is put the game plans together. He didn't call the plays, but he put the game plans together. So that's where, what capacity he served as an offensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, coming here to the Titans, I live in Nashville, by the way, for those who don't know. Anyway, pretty sure everyone knows that. But coming to Nashville, this is his first time calling plays in the NFL. Of course, his offensive coordinator did come from Jacksonville as a wide receivers coach, and now he is up here, the offensive coordinator, but he isn't calling the plays. That would be Brian Callahan. So, not only is he the head coach, he's first time calling plays as well. So he's got a lot on his shoulders. So as you can tell, he's learning a few things as he goes. The offense has, sometimes been kind of sputtered. The offense at other times has looked okay. It's just, it's the imbalance of, having players, learning a new system and still trying to grow in the system. An offensive coordinator, a head coach that is still trying to learn his way as a play caller as well as a head coach. And that combination of things kind of goes together in terms of what you kind of got a little bit from the Titans. I know they have expected better, but, it is what it is at this point. But, the good thing about him is that, hey, he's a rookie head coach. He seems to be learning from different things and different situations that have happened and continue to try to grow. Has he faced some criticism? Yes, of course. With any coach, you're going to face criticism. That is part of the job. That is what you signed up for. However, he's receiving that criticism. He's also looking at the different things and what he has to do to become better and make the Titans a better team. And, different than Mike Vrabel, by the way, is what he does when he addresses media. He basically answers the question. He doesn't kind of give you coded language, things like that. And some like that, some don't like that. But he basically gives you what he thinks. And he tells you what he thinks, which is good in the journalistic world and media world. If you're trying to, answer questions, do deadlines, and you actually have an even better pulse of the team when people answer questions. Now, it seems like I've said when people answer questions a couple times, and yes, I did that on purpose because this next head coach, that would be of the Jacksonville Jaguars, refused to answer really a question saying that media would not understand it. That would be Jaguars head coach Doug Pederson. And this year for Doug Pederson has been a continuation of what last year was for the Jaguars team. They started the season off great last year and then ended it on a sour note, and they started it this year on a sour note. Yes, this Jaguars team was expected to be better, and I'm pretty sure that Doug Pederson expected them to be better. However, they have not been better, and he hasn't been better when it comes to talking to the media. Now, there's been some stuff talked about in terms of Press Taylor calling his plays and Doug Pederson being the head coach, and maybe he needed to step in and do that, which he did not do, and he's going to, I guess, stand up for his boy calling the plays at quarterback. I mean, at offensive coordinator. But, it's definitely been an interesting year. And the last week, this last loss where Mac Jones stepped in for an injured Trevor Lawrence, who's going through shoulder issues right now and could be potentially season ending. We don't know the answer to that yet as of the time of this recording. But basically, when you look at how he answered a question about a play where Mac Jones threw an interception to end the game, basically, he basically told the media that we wouldn't understand it if he explained it. Instead of just trying to explain what happened, it seemed like just with the attitude or the way he kind of approached it, he had I know more than you do, which, hey, he may know more football than some of the people answering or asking the questions. However, answer the question. Answer the question. It's not that hard. It wasn't a disrespectful question. It wasn't a bad question. Just trying to gain more understanding as to what happened in that play. That is nothing more, nothing less. But Doug Pederson made it sound like they were insulting him by answering the question, or that, oh, this question was beneath him, or this guy will not understand anything that I'm saying, so why even say it? So, that kind of attitude has kind of been around Doug Pederson this year. He's been a little bit cantankerous this year, a little bit rude and crass at times, and just, kind of silent. And with all the pressure that's on him with this Jaguars team and how they have not performed, honestly, he might be getting shown the door because the pressure is because this team was supposed to be better than what they are this year. You see, the different perspective here is Mr. Callahan came into a team trying to build back up. Sure, they added pieces. Sure, they had expectations, but the team trying to build back up. So he's going to get more years or another year, or, I can't say how many years. But anyway, he's going to be around next year for the Tennessee Titans, in my estimation and opinion, and from all looks and accounts. When it comes to Doug Pederson, it does not look very well like he's going to be around next year because, one, they have underachieved. Two, it just looks like there's no identity of the team. And three, his loyalty is going to cost him, just like it did when he was in Philadelphia. Now, I'm not calling for, I'm not one for saying someone should lose their job or anything like that. That's just not my thing. But, based off of what he's done, yeah, it just looks like that, he's lost this team and this team is not where it needs to be. And then a change maybe does need to happen there. So, just different perspectives when it comes to these two teams, which both are sitting at 2 wins, but the Titans are sitting in third place because they're 2-7, not 2-8 like the Jaguars are. But the bye week comes around. Who knows if the Titans will win before the Jaguars come back from the bye week, and they may be even in their record. So these two teams, both 2 wins, different perspectives. The Titans, Titans fans, not happy, but more national media kind of like they probably would settle in around third. And with the Jaguars, a lot of disappointment and frustration, especially with the pieces they added this offseason. Darnell Savage, Eric Armstead, Gabe Davis, paid these guys money, but unfortunately it has not turned into wins or game-changing or season-changing type of plays. All right, we have reached the end of the show. I want to thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Touring the AFC South. I'm your host, Mike Patton. You can find me on the artist formerly known as Twitter at MikePatton82. That's MikePatton82 on the artist formerly known as Twitter. You can also find me there on Blue Sky as well. That's the new social media app. You can also find me on Instagram and Threads at that's THA, not THE, _general_MP. Touring the AFC South, you can find on all listening platforms, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, you name it, we are there. Thank you all for tuning in to episode 307, Different Perspectives. We're out. Peace.